Okay, so let's get into this because Russell Crowe just dropped a confession that has Hollywood shaking. For years, people have whispered about what really goes on behind Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban's picture-perfect smiles. But Russell, he was right there. Their close friend. The one who saw the fairy tale and the fallout. And now he's done staying quiet. What he's saying paints a totally different picture of their so-called perfect marriage, and trust me, it's messier than anyone imagined. Before we spill all the tea, do me a favor. Hit that like button, drop a quick comment, and tell me what you really think about Hollywood couples who look too perfect. Because 9 times out of 10, that glossy smile hides a war behind the scenes. And when you hear what Russell revealed about Nicole and Keith, you'll see exactly what I mean. Let's rewind. The story starts in early 2005 at the G'Day LA Gala. Basically, Australia's answer to the Oscars, filled with champagne, fake laughs, and A-list tension. Nicole Kidman walks in glowing like she owns the room. Keith Urban's there too, all leather jacket and southern charm. Russell said he felt the energy between them from across the floor like static before a storm. But here's the twist. Nicole thought Keith didn't even notice her. He did. He just played it way too cool. 4 months later, he finally called her, and once he did, the spark turned into a wildfire. They went from 0 to married faster than anyone expected. Harley rides, private picnics, late nights that looked like movie scenes. By June 2006, they were husband and wife. People called it destiny. Russell called it dangerous, because behind the smiles, he saw 2 people moving at lightning speed without knowing what kind of storm they were walking into, and that storm came quick. Just 4 months after the wedding, Keith checked into rehab. The tabloids went wild, but Russell had a front row seat. He said it was like watching their new marriage almost implode before it even began. Keith spiraled, and Nicole had to decide, walk away or fight for him. She chose to fight. She paused her career, stopped everything, and stood by his side when most people would have been gone. And she told friends later, you can't save someone who doesn't want to save themselves. You just love them and wait for them to do the work. And somehow they survived it. From then on, their love became almost ritualistic. Old school. No endless texting, no performative Instagram stories, just letters. Every night Keith was away, he sent Nicole a handwritten note every single night. Can you even imagine that in today's Hollywood? While everyone else was chasing followers, they were chasing quiet. But Russell said that quiet had an edge because when 2 people love each other that hard, the silence between them can get loud. They kept their daughters, Sunday Rose and Faith Margaret, far from the Hollywood circus. No phones, no social media, no flashing cameras. When Nicole tried to give her daughter an Emmy for her bedroom, she refused and said, I'll earn my own. Savage and sweet at the same time. But not everything in that house was storybook. Nicole's older kids with Tom Cruise, Isabella, and Connor were still tied up in Scientology, a chapter that left its scars. And according to Russell, that tension never fully left her life. It was always there in the background, like a ghost she couldn't shake. And that's where Russell starts to sound a little haunted himself, because he watched it all up close. The quiet rituals, the family dinners, the glamorous events that looked effortless until you realized they were being held together with grit and forgiveness. He said Nicole's life was this constant juggling act between grace and grief. She wanted peace, but peace kept asking for a price. The pressure to be perfect never really stopped. The red carpets, the magazine covers, the interviews that had to sound cheerful even when she was barely sleeping. Meanwhile, Keith's world was chaos in glitter form. Tours, stadiums, adrenaline highs that crash the second the lights go out. He once told Russell he hadn't seen most of Nicole's movies when they first met, which probably saved him from being starstruck. But later, he'd catch one on TV while touring and admit it felt like watching her ghost. Like getting to visit the version of her the world owned instead of the one he loved. That's deep, but also kind of heartbreaking. It's the curse of Hollywood. Everyone wants a piece of you until there's nothing left for the person who matters most. And then came Big Little Lies, the role that made Nicole a streaming queen and nearly broke him. She was playing a woman trapped in an abusive marriage, and Russell said Keith couldn't handle it. Every scream, every tear he took personally. He couldn't separate acting from reality. Imagine loving someone so much that watching them pretend to be hurt actually hurts you. That's not Hollywood drama, that's emotional overload. It blurred the line between art and real pain, and Keith had no idea how to shut it off. The pressure kept building. Fame on one side, feelings on the other. Nicole loved their calm Nashville life, the slow mornings and southern rhythm. Keith thrived in chaos, the road, the crowd, the rush. Two people, one marriage, totally opposite engines. And when you mix that with constant headlines speculating about your next fight or your next split, it's only a matter of time before the cracks start showing. Russell said even their daughters asked why people made up stories about their family, and Keith's answer was brutally simple: because it sells. Still, they kept choosing each other. When Nicole's father passed away, Keith literally dropped everything. He got off stage, hopped on a plane, and flew 6 hours overnight just to be there. That's love. But love doesn't erase exhaustion. It just masks it. Over time, the daily strain of fame, emotional roles, late-night tours, and public pressure started stacking up. They weren't breaking down, they were wearing down. And sometimes that kind of quiet fatigue hits harder than any loud fight ever could. Russell described it perfectly. Love wasn't the problem. Time was. When your careers are on different planets, even letters start to feel like lifelines instead of love notes. The very thing that kept them together, that old-school handwritten devotion, was also proof of how often they were apart. And when you spend more time maintaining a bond than actually living it, something eventually gives. Fame turned them into passengers on parallel tracks, heading in the same direction but never quite touching. Then came the turning point nobody saw. No explosive fight, no cheating scandal, no paparazzi showdown. Just a quiet, painful drift. Russell said their marriage didn't end, it thinned. A slow fade, a shift from us to you and me. And when it finally cracked, it wasn't loud, it was sad. Nicole took the girls and rebuilt around them. Keith leaned into music, sobriety, and silence. And for the first time, Russell said, the house that used to sound like laughter now sounded empty. Now co-parenting is the new rhythm. Nicole's still the anchor, running schedules and keeping things grounded, while Keith moves in and out like a touring comet. They're both still successful, still respected, but that fairy tale glow, it's gone. And that's what Russell's revelation really exposed. Not scandal, but reality. That sometimes love doesn't end because it's broken. It ends because it's tired. And maybe that's why people are shocked. Because tired love doesn't make good headlines, but it's the truest story there is. And here's the real Hollywood truth nobody wants to say. Fame doesn't destroy love. It just demands too much of it. When every move gets sold to the tabloids and every silence becomes a headline, you start protecting your peace more than your partner. That's how even the strongest couples slip away quietly. Behind the smiles, behind the designer gowns and tour buses, are two people just trying to survive their own success. That's what Russell saw, the cost of living a dream that never lets you sleep. So no, Russell Crowe didn't drop some messy betrayal bomb. He dropped something scarier, the truth about how love fades in slow motion, even when both people mean well. His voice cracked when he said it. It wasn't betrayal, it was gravity. And that line hit everyone in the room like a gut punch. Because you can fight scandal, but you can't fight gravity. You can't hold on to something that keeps drifting, no matter how tight your grip is. So what do you think really happened behind those perfect smiles? Burnout, distance, or secrets too heavy to carry? Drop your thoughts below because I know this story's got opinions flying. And if you love deep dives like this, real Hollywood stories, raw emotion, and the truth behind the glam, hit subscribe, turn on the bell, and stay tuned. There's more tea coming that'll make you rethink every perfect couple you've ever seen on a red carpet. Because here's the thing about Hollywood love stories. They don't end when the cameras stop rolling. The industry keeps the fantasy alive long after the people in it have changed. Keith still sings about love and heartbreak, and fans still read those lyrics like they're about Nicole. Meanwhile, Nicole's red carpet confidence hides a woman who's seen every side of fame, from glittering premieres to the loneliness that follows once the spotlight moves on. It's poetic, in a way. Two artists using pain as fuel while the world claps for the performance. And maybe that's why Russell finally spoke up. not to spill dirty secrets, but to remind people that love in Hollywood isn't built on magic. It's built on sacrifice. He said what we're all afraid to admit, that even when the cameras fade and the applause dies out, real life doesn't pause for fame. It keeps testing, keeps pulling, keeps revealing who's willing to stay and who's strong enough to walk away. Nicole and Keith's story might have changed shape, but Russell's truth makes one thing clear. Even in the city of illusions, love was never their biggest lie. It was their most fragile truth.